Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we're building the 3 Musketeers deck. So because the Musketeers are in steel and amber, we don't have that much choice when it comes to our colors. We want to play Goofy, the Musketeer. 3/6 bodyguard. Whenever you play it, remove 2 damage counters from each of your Musketeer characters. Musketeer Synergy. We want to play Mickey Mouse Musketeer. 2/7 bodyguard. Your other Musketeers get +1 power. Ready to fight. And we get the weaker Musketeer, Donald Duck, the 2/5 bodyguard, which gives all your characters evasive during your turn. So basically you can challenge evasive characters. And there we have it. The 3 Musketeers join forces together to fight the forces of Lorcana. I was going to say evil, good, both, or just forces of neutrals as well. And then there's the 4th card that is tribal to Musketeers, Musketeer Tabard, which we will not be playing. Because it's a Musketeer support card does not mean that we have to play it. And honestly, I've tried it. It's too slow. You play it on turn 4. And then you play a Musketeer, and then you need to wait for that Musketeer character to go down in order to reap the benefits, in which cases you just draw a card to replace your Musketeer Tabard. Considering the Musketeers that we are playing that are 4, 5, 6 drops, the Tabard is too slow. Now I can see the Tabard in use if you're playing a bunch of very weak bodyguard characters like Simba, Hercules, then you go lots of small bodied characters with bodyguards, protect your even cheaper aggro characters like your Lilo, and then you drop a Tabard and you're like, alright, play your removal spell, I'm gonna draw 5 cards. That's when you play the Tabard. But with the big top heavy Musketeers, I find it lackluster. It's uninkable, it's typically a dead card in my hand, so this is Tabardless Musketeers. Alright, so what else are we gonna be playing? That's all nice and good, but we're out of Musketeers already. Well, our Musketeers need something to defend, and what better to defend than the extremely powerful 2-quester Lilo, Making a Wish. The little not-so-princess that needs to be protected. Well, if we're playing Lilo, we might as well be playing her loyal protector, Simba, Protective Cub. Lilo into Simba can win games just on their own, and now we have bigger Musketeers to help and protect Lilo. I know, 4 bodyguards, still no Tabard, same reason as before. Now, since we want to be playing a 4-drop, 5-drop, 6-drop, these things are expensive, so we're going to be playing a bit of ramp with some lanterns. Lanterns, super solid ramp card, except if Beast comes in to blow it up, but typically you've gotten your use out of the lantern. Main downside is if you draw it into late game, you can't just ink it, you need to pay the 2 to play it. But if you get it on turn 2, it's pretty powerful, pretty good there. Okay, so now we have a bit of ramp, some early pressure, and some big guys. Well, since we're playing steel, we know that there's some powerhouses in steel. We know that there's Grab Your Sword. We're going to be playing 4 copies of Grab Your Sword. We're going to be playing 3 copies of A Whole New World. I feel like I don't want to play A Whole New World all the time with this deck. But we are going to run out of cards because, well, we're not playing much other draw engine. Oh, actually, speaking of draw engine, we are playing a bunch of very high toughness characters, which is the perfect deck to play Rapunzel in. Okay, almost every deck is the perfect deck to play Rapunzel. This card is extremely strong. Some may even say busted. But it's very strong, especially when we have high toughness characters, meaning that we can heal them. So between Goofy's ability and Rapunzel, we have a lot of healing for the high toughness, and Rapunzel gives us some draw. Whole New World gives us some draw. Grab Your Sword gives us, well, removal. We do want some removal because the Musketeers don't have that much of a high power. And if we're going to be playing the 2 power songs, we might as well play the Power Singer. Ariel, Spectacular Singer, will come in as a 4 of. And, well, since we only have 7 copies of Song, we might as well play the inkable Song of choice, Be Our Guest. More often than not, just played as ink. It's a good target for Ariel, but later in the game you can fetch a character that you'd like. Probably one of those nice little Musketeers that we've just looked at, and put it in your hand. So that's pretty solid. Let's go back and reevaluate. So we have our early game, which is Lilo into Simba or Lantern into some of our Musketeers. Ideally Donald, then Goofy, then Mickey if we curve out perfectly. A little bit of a dream-born scenario there. We only have one 1-drop. Because we are in steel, I'd like to include some Captain Hooks. Now we don't necessarily need more 1-drops, but it does help to smooth out our curve. If we go with the Lantern plan, then the Hook into a Captain is preferable to a Lilo into a Lantern. Although Lilo, Lantern, Donald, Goofy does sound pretty nice, but now I'm just saying a bunch of names in thin air without any visuals, which can be confusing. Alright, back to the visuals. Let's play 3 copies of Smash. It's a nice inkable, nice removal. We were a little light on our 3-drops, so now we have good nice 1-drops, decent 2s, and a consistent game plan. In terms of 3s, we have Ariel and Smash, and we don't need to overcommit to 3s because we do have the Lantern to help jump start up a Donald. And then what else? Well, we need to wrap up our curve. I'd like to have another 3 or 4 drop to complete kind of this ramping here. And the rest I'd like to have as expensive inkables. Well, we're in the color of Tinkerbell, so we might as well play 4 copies. And I do like Beast. Just a 2-quester 4/4, and if the opponent has an item, we blow it up. It's a nice flex inkable card that's high costed. I kind of like it. Could be playing Maximus, also a strong card, but we're already playing a ton of bodyguards, and our deck is Musketeer tribal, not bodyguard tribal, even though it could seem that way. Now we're missing 4 cards. I'd like a 3 or 4 drop. Hans is acceptable, Cinderella. Not really going after the Hook strategy here. Could play some Hades. How's our uninkable count? We have Lilo, Lantern, Whole New World, and Grab Your Sword. We're at 11 uninkable. I'd rather not include more, so I'll skip on the Hades for this time. And we might as well go with this small Tinkerbell. She's inkable. She's going to get into the ink most of the time, but some of the time we get to shift the big Tink on top of the small Tink, which also goes with fast songs, as the Tier 0, Tier 1 Steel Amber deck loves to do. And this is really a variation on that Tier 1 very strong Amber Steel deck, except that instead of playing some Stitch Rockstars and the more aggressive 1-drops line, we're really going after the Musketeers and just trying to establish a steady board that is hard to remove unless the opponent has Be Prepared or a bunch of Sapphire removal spells to deal with these high toughness characters. And that allows us to make use of Goofy's healing, Rapunzel's healing. It's not as good as Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah, but synergizes with the Mickey Mouse and allows us to play these 2 inks that are very strong and still have access to the healing. And there we have it, folks. It's the 3 Musketeers, no Tabard deck list. And all that remains is to see the deck in action with some games. Let's see what we can do with this one. We have a Lilo Simba start. A pair of Lanterns and a Goofy. It's actually decent. We'll keep the Hook as an inkable, and we're going second, so depending on what the opponent does, we may just ink the Simba as well and go Lantern on 2. Let's see what we can find out from our opponent. Opponent inks a Chief Tui. Okay, that's a pretty weak card, I think. And I'll start by inking a Hook and playing a Lilo. Lilo, the storyborn hero that quests the opponent into oblivion. Her lifelong dream is to join the Musketeer squad, at least in this deck. Opponent goes one jump ahead and inks an extra card. Gonna ink Be Our Guest to play Simba, and we have the 1-2 combo punch in here that allows us to ink the quest with the Lilo. But the opponent went first, and with one jump ahead, the opponent is now ahead quite a bit with ink, having the capabilities of going to 4 this turn. Let's see it happen. We have 2 bodyguards in hand. Okay, more ink for our opponent with Mickey Mouse Detective. And the Maleficent joins it. Opponent's already at 5 ink in the ink pool, as we're sitting with our measly 2. We'll ink a Tinkerbell since we have 2 copies. And let's go with the Lantern. Try to get some ramp in. Then we might as well quest with the duo. Applying some pressure to our opponent, who's been heavily ramping so far. For 6, what's our opponent going to play? Inking an Eric, so maybe a Tinkerbell? Tinkerbell would hurt. She could take out Lilo with her passive. It's kind of a fast Tinkerbell with all the ramp. But do you have it, opponent? Smashing the Simba is also pretty good for opponent, as Mickey Mouse will swiftly take care of our Lilo. And the Beast's Mirror. So the opponent's in for the long game. We're going to ink our own copy of Tinkerbell. I think here we just go with Goofy. Goofy Musketeer. Musketeer number 1, hitting the battlefield. Fortunately, we're not gaining much out of his ability, which allows us to heal other Musketeers. Mufasa comes in. Slightly bigger stats than our Goofy, unless we find a Captain Hook. But we don't need a Captain Hook. So you can go to the ink pile. Hook. And for 6, we can Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell with the double ping. And Mufasa. Any ability? Nothing much, just D4-6. I'm just going to quest with Goofy. Trying to take advantage of the initial lore that we've gained early in the game, and threatening to use Tinkerbell's combat ability to get a 2-for-1. Although taking out a Mickey Mouse Detective with 2 damage already on it's not really the highest value you can get. That's still fine. If we hit another Inkable, we can go Donald Ariel next turn. I'll probably Ariel first, see if we hit a good song. Because I mean, Tinkerbell and Goofy just love to dance, 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 and sing. I wonder if they're going to come out with an ability like that, dance. Whenever a character sings a song, this character gets a nice effect. Actually, We do have cards like that, but it's not called Dance. Opponent quests with Mufasa. Also having played a Grab Your Sword, dealing a bunch of damage to our characters. Find Tinkerbell that we're going to ink. Ariel will find nothing. So we'll also play Donald Duck. Don't have an overly good trade with Mufasa, so we might as well just quest. We'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Now we're sitting with Evasive Musketeers. Just missing the third Musketeer, and we'll have the complete set on the board. Opponent plays a Maleficent, just a 3/4, and Prince Eric. Just one ink short of activating that Beast's Mirror. But Mufasa goes to Questing Town. As we can quest for 5, opponent can quest for 7. Grab Your Sword here is a decent addition. Probably want to hard cast it. It's a lot of damage, 2 to everything. Now you could leverage Tinkerbell to take out both Mufasa and Maleficent. I kind of like this trade here. And then we quest with the gang. Only 3 points of lore, but Ariel is well protected with her pair of bodyguard Musketeers, and Eric is not powerful enough to take out either of those 2 Musketeers. And if Eric quests, then he's a prime target for a challenge. Ooh, that Tinkerbell's a nice draw for our opponent. Makes Prince Eric powerful enough to take out Goofy, which it does. Now Tinkerbell can take out Donald and ping Ariel with the remaining of the damage, which puts us in a tight spot. No, but we do find Mickey Mouse Musketeer. The last Musketeer we were missing. A2-7. Is it worth questing for 2 here? That is the question. We're definitely casting Mickey, which pumps up the damage on our Donald to 3. 3 is not great. I think we just pass here, because the opponent still has that Tinkerbell threat of attacking Donald and pinging Ariel. Opponent inks a Beast's Mirror, draws with Beast Mirror, so now these Beast Mirror are going to be a bit of a problem, netting our opponent a chunk of card advantage. That would be a great time to draw into a beast or a whole new world. We're still somewhat ahead on the board and ahead with the lore count. Is the opponent stuck with that top deck? So that's something you can play. Ooh, another Mickey. Now that's pretty nice. I'm gonna play that Mickey as a bodyguard. And then this Mickey will quest, going all the way to 14. And with the 2 Mickey Mouse, Ariel is now protected, so we can quest at her. And Tinkerbell is not in a good spot to take out either of our Mickeys. So the bodyguards are they're gonna do their job and protect Ariel. Fortunately, they can't protect Donald. because Donald's also a Musketeer and he's gonna answer the challenge, draw his sword and go and fight and lose against Tinkerbell, and the rebound's gonna take out Ariel, which we don't want. Ugh! I grab your sword. That hurts. There's no two ways around it. But our Mickeys, with their 7 base willpower, are still alive and will still take another hit from Tinkerbell. Second grab your sword. Keeps our opponent alive, because now we lose the quest from Donald. We top deck a lantern, which is a bad top deck, but we can quest to 19. The opponent needs to take out both Mickey Mouses, and there's 3 grab your swords that are gone. Opponent needs a smash, I think, or another Tinkerbell. So I guess there are a bunch of options there. A smash it is. And draws a card off of the Beast's Mirror. Alright, well, whole new world. We're gonna cast it. Fresh new mid of cards. There's nothing we can play here. We couldn't find a cheap card to play. Well, let's ink smash. See if we can find anything, would be our guest. Find stuff, but not stuff that wins us the game. Let's pick a Mickey Mouse. And that'll be it for a turn. I was hoping to find a Captain Hook, a Simba, something like that. Something that would force our opponent to deal with an unexerted character. But now the opponent just has a mitt full of cards at their disposal. And if they can set up a quest for 11, we'll be in big trouble. But that's hard, setting up questing for 11. We'll set up just our biggest threat, which is going to be Mickey Mouse Musketeer. But the opponent can also be playing Let It Go or Hades and let the game go a little longer. We've given our opponent a lot of cards there. Although with an extra card we can double 5-drop. That's probably the most threatening thing we can do, just double beast. It's the beastly move to make. So we have 7, 8, 9. Find a Donald too. Yeah, we can go to 10. Let's ink Tink. And let's go with double beast. Because the opponent doesn't have that much damage based removal left. There's 3 grab your swords gone, so we can't be afraid of double grab your sword. No, I don't really want to blow up my own lanterns. Thank you, game. Opponent can quest for 6. So the opponent needs Hades Let It Go, or something like Let It Go Tinkerbell Smash to get out of this. And the opponent has 5 cards in hand. So there aren't that many things that the opponent can have. Is it good enough? So when your Musketeers are done fighting, that's when you unleash the beasts. Opponent is thinking, can they come back from this? I don't think our opponent has an answer. No, they don't. And we take the win in Great parts thanks to our Mickey Mouse Musketeers that held down the fort in the very grindy matchup. Let's see what our Musketeers can do this game. I have a pair of Musketeers, pair of Rapunzels. Going first, I'd like a lantern or some early game, so I'm gonna mulligan some of these cards. Let's mulligan these. Let's mulligan the big Musketeer. We'll draw into it later. Alright, we do find a lantern. That will be our game plan. Lantern into Donald into Goofy. Don't really need Be Our Guest, so that's going to ink. Opponent inks an amber card as we ramp into a lantern. How is our opponent going to follow up? LeFou lantern. So amber ruby is what our opponent is playing. And we have our hefty bodyguard 2/5 for 4, staying alert. So the ability to hit through evasiveness. It's a Musketeer with no sword. Opponent plays an aerial, looking for a song. Doesn't find any. And a Shield of Virtue. Donald is a bit weaker as a Musketeer, so we're going to ink our second copy. And go with a Goofy. You can heal Donald, who didn't take any damage before, but just a refreshing dose of healing. Making sure that he's alert and ready to go. Maui comes in and decides that it wasn't ready enough. Go back to your training. 6 power is a big pain for this deck. Alright, so here we want to play aerial. We can find a grab your sword. I really want to smash that Maui. But I don't want to give up my Rapunzel, so I think I have to give up Goofy. I need to keep on inking here. Smashing Maui. So I can quest with my 3/6. But the Musketeers line up really poorly against Maui. Second lantern coming up. And just a quest. Okay, opponent has a follow-up. LeFou. Unexerting aerial. Opponent just wants to keep their stuff unexerted. Tinkerbell is quite a nice draw here. We'll use her to ping the opponent's characters. Then I'll just pass the turn back. Opponent does not have access to a whole new world. It's not something we need to worry about. Have you forgotten me? As a matter of fact, I had forgotten you, Mufasa. Mufasa action. That's alright. Our board is superior to our opponents. We can play... Actually, making use of our lantern, we get to play a Mickey. And we can safely quest with everything. thanks to defensive prowesses of Goofy, who's now 4-6. 4-6 defender. Bodyguard. Ooh, and there's a Mickey Mouse brave little tailor. That's a pretty strong threat. They can't really attack through our Musketeers. Kind of wish we had Donald, so we could attack through its evasiveness. But then again, we'd take 2 hits from our Musketeers. Wouldn't be that great. And we're ahead on lore by enough. Actually, the opponent needs to go to combat and take out one of our Musketeers. So Mickey bites the dust. Apparently scissors beat the sword. So if you're ever playing rock, paper, scissors, swords, you know what to use. And with LeFou, Mickey gets unexerted, challenges the Goofy, but Goofy's just too tough. And lives through it. Aerial quests. And finally takes out our Musketeer. Now we draw a whole new world. And we are certainly not going to play it. This seems fine. Our opponent is on the ropes and needs that top deck to count. So there's no real reason for us to play a whole new world here. Especially on the edge of winning like this. I don't think there's anything our opponent can find with aerial that's going to save them. And we quest for game. And our big Musketeers just held the fort and brought us to victory. I hope that you've enjoyed this video featuring Mickey Mouse, the Musketeer, Goofy, the Musketeer, and Donald Duck, the Musketeer. So 3 Musketeers with no Tabard. If you try to list with the Tabard, you'll see what I mean with getting stuck in hand with the Tabard. So I'd highly encourage you to try this list. It's actually pretty fun. It does have a lot of similar feels to what I consider the Tier 1 Steel Amber list. But it plays the Musketeers, and so you end up with more clunky boards of characters that are harder to remove. And you can kind of stare your opponent in the face and go, try to defeat my 2/7 character on a battlefield. And then watch them laugh and play a Hades or something. Or Dragonfire. But that's okay, because you're playing Musketeers. And Musketeers are fun. They're tribal. And I hope you've enjoyed the video, you've enjoyed the deck. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see next. And have you tried 3 Musketeers builds? And how happy are you with the archetype so far? Are you looking forward to more 3 Musketeers being added? Which I guess wouldn't make much sense since there's 3, but maybe variations on these 3 Musketeers. Maybe they'll change the name to 4 Musketeers. 5? There are 4 3 Musketeers, right? Does D'Artagnan count as a Musketeer? I mean, all of these questions will be answered in the comments below by you right now. Thanks again for watching the video. I hope you've had a great time, and I'll see you next time.